You are Locked On Trojans Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, indeed. Hello and welcome to the Locked On Trojans Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA, dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. Covered the Trojans pretty closely there for quite a while when I was at ESPN. Practice 3 or 4 times a week, and then pregame show out near the peristyle end of the field. Big tailgate at the radio station. Those were the good old days when the Trojans won a lot, won more than they lost. That's not the case this year, but today it felt better for sure. Today's episode of the Locked On Trojans Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the new season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. So there's a lot of pressure there. $5 bet can get you $150 in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, the Trojans pull it out. They've been in 6 one-score games, and they have come out short on 5 of those 6. The one being the first game of the season, that big win against LSU. Today, Jayden Maiava started for them at quarterback, and it did feel like at times he brought a different sort of energy and gave them a few things that Miller Moss didn't. He definitely is a guy that can stretch the field, and it is also a guy that can run a little bit. Miller Moss was also a guy that can run a bit, but I feel like for whatever bizarre reason in this 28-20 win for the Trojans over the Cornhuskers, the offensive line gave Maiava a little bit more time. What I felt was a problem, what I felt was lacking a little bit was consistency, and I guess that makes sense, rightfully so. Maiava is still trying to understand the offense and become comfortable as the starting quarterback. So I thought all in all, Maiava looked pretty good at times, and you could see the potential there. As for who shined at receiver today, as with the Trojans, it usually is a variety of guys. Duce Robinson had a very nice game. Zach Branch, Woody Marks, who is their leading receiver, Kyron Hudson. I was a little surprised that Kyle Ford and Makai Lemon didn't get involved as much as they had in weeks past. Makai Lemon has been big for them, and today had one very interesting, bizarre, meaningful catch in the fourth quarter, which we'll get into in a little bit. But 9 yards was his long, just 2 catches on the day. And how important was Woody Marks to this game? To me, without Woody Marks playing the way he did, they don't win this game. It is crucial that you run the ball. We've seen that if they don't run the ball, especially in tight spots like 2 weeks ago against Washington, you can't win. And today, Woody Marks was shouldering the entire program on his back. They won this game today because of Woody Marks. 19 carries, 146 yards. Surprisingly, did not get into the end zone. It was a weird game all in all. I agree with the guys on the call on Fox. Just a lot of bizarre things that happened. I think for me, I didn't love the play calling from Lincoln Riley to Jayden Maiava rather, to start the game. 2 deep shots on the first drive, and they got 1 first down, 0 for 2 on those 2 deep drives, and then they had to punt it away. The second drive, a pick 6 from Maiava. Ceyair Wright, the former Trojan who had a heck of a game today for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, blocked a punt, a pick 6. That motivation against the team that for whatever reason let you go. Got to come back and prove something. And Ceyair Wright did that today, the LA kid who is now playing for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But I thought early on, SC struggled a little bit to run the ball before Woody Marks got going. More than anything, they struggled to stop the run. That was the biggest problem for them, I thought. Emmett Johnson, 10 carries for 55 yards. Dante Dowdell, 8 carries, 52 yards. There were a few times in the second half where he was pounding the ball down the USC throat. And that was, kind of early to mid portion of the third quarter. And I wrote down, they just had a tough time stopping the run. But they got it figured out and did a nice job of it in the fourth quarter when they needed to, when they had a field goal blocked by Ceyair Wright and had an opportunity right there to grab a 24-20 lead. But when things got tight for them, they gave the ball to Woody Marks and he took care of business. Another thing that was impressive today, again, when you look up and down the receiving stats, Duce Robinson, 4 catches, 90 yards and a touchdown. Zachariah Branch, his first touchdown, 6 catches and 41 yards, a long of 23. We've heard a lot about him. We've seen him perform a lot, and it's been kind of like close to explosive. You see what Zach Branch is capable of, but we just haven't seen him kind of break loose and really make things happen. So today we did finally see that. He had a nice little catch and run there on a play action screen pass, which was a really nice pass from Maiava. The play action has been something that has worked out well for them, and it worked out again today. So nice win for the Trojans, 28-20, get back to 500, 5-5, 3-5 in the conference. So they now sit one win shy of becoming bowl eligible. BC is just loving LA right now. Go LA sports, Lakers, Dodgers, Rams, Kings, Galaxy. What about the Clippers, BC? I know they're not good right now. 3 in a row, off today, play tomorrow. Hasn't been fun covering them. Lakers and Kings double win tonight. We'll see. Trojans, though, had a nice game today. I think it was kind of all over the place. It was very discombobulated, and I guess you wouldn't call it fluid, but they showed up in crucial situations. There was a nice completion to Kyron Hudson for a first down, setting up the touchdown to Duce Robinson. That was the best pass of the day from Maiava. He hit Duce Robinson for 46 yards on a over crossing pattern. Duce was just wide open, and it was a perfect pass right on the money. Didn't need to break stride. And then 3rd and 12 in the third at the 5:12 mark. They stopped the run, stopped Nebraska to force a punt. And I thought that was huge for them, that they forced the punt. They get the ball back, and okay, here's an opportunity to kind of create some momentum, create some distance, salt this game away, get into a more comfortable position. And what does Maiava do? Scrambling around, fumbles the ball right back to Nebraska. And that, to come away with a win after a situation like that, and granted, it was at the 5-minute mark of the third, still plenty of time there. But 3rd and 2, they had a field goal opportunity, or they stopped a field goal and or scored a field goal rather to make it 21-20 at that point. The stats are a little bit hard today because ESPN, I guess because these two teams are not nationally noteworthy, they don't put the normal amount of stats. The Gamecast, I don't know if you guys have caught this. I thought it was interesting. They just basically put up a box score. They didn't put up any of the scoring plays like you would normally see in a football game on the Gamecast at the bottom. They're kind of like, we don't have enough time for this Trojan Huskers game. So kind of remembering how all the scoring plays happen is trying to be by memory, or I have to go over to CBS Sports, and I'm not super familiar with, navigating myself around CBS Sports. But so Hull had a 30-yard field goal attempt, which was good for Nebraska, and that made it 21-20. That's what I was referring to there. Woody Marks, again, ran the ball very, very hard with explosiveness today. That was really, really nice to see. The Jayden Maiava touchdown, I thought, to Duce Robinson, 48 yards, was his best pass and his best play of the day. In the fourth quarter, the touchdown from Jayden Maiava kind of iced it for totally iced it for the Trojans. At that point, it was 27-20. and the extra point made it 28-20, but Nebraska was not completely dead. They got down inside the red zone in the final seconds of the game, but an interception locked it away for the Trojans and put a ribbon on this victory, again, 28-20. So all in all, a comfortable win in the end, because they, took care of business when they needed to, I think. And let me back up. Nothing about this game felt really comfortable, right? I think the announcers were joking that if a Nebraska fan was sitting next to a USC fan, they would have been cheering on the other team, assuring their partner there that the other team was going to win. The USC fan would be saying to the Cornhuskers fan, "You're going to win this game, don't worry," and vice versa. But it didn't turn out that way. So all in all, I think a gutty win for the Trojans. We'll get into some of the details after the break. Some of these weird plays that happened. That one reception from Makai Lemon was, I think, fairly crucial and a big deal for them at the time, because it could have gone for an interception and it could have really switched the momentum in the Cornhuskers' favor. 28-20, the final here for the USC Trojans to beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers and get to 500. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On USC Trojans Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Trojans podcast feed. That's where you find Mark doing the weekly Monday through Friday podcast. So make sure you check him out as well. Today's episode of the Locked On Trojans Postcast is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. My mom used to be a huge fan of Omaha Steaks. She's 97 now, so she's not eating nearly as much food and buying the Omaha Steaks thing. I always enjoyed it when she would get the box, because she'd eat about half of it and say, "Here, you want all this leftover stuff that I don't want?" She always just wanted the steaks, and whatever box she would end up getting had a bunch of other stuff in it, like sausages, and she wasn't into that. So she would give all that stuff to me, or the twice baked potatoes, a lot of good stuff there. 5 generations of experience there, consistently delivering the world's best steak experience, and gifted experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift throughout the curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at Omaha, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Trojans win at 28-20 and get back on the winning side for the first time in a couple of weeks, because they had a bye last week, and prior to that lost to Washington. So it seems like they've been losing for weeks, but prior to the Washington game, they beat Rutgers. I just didn't cover that game because I was right in the middle of the Dodgers World Series run. Today, though, they spread it out. Duce Robinson, Zach Branch had nice games. Woody Marks is their top receiver. He caught 6 balls today for 36 yards. Duce Robinson had a touchdown, 4 catches for 90 yards. Zach Branch, 6 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown. Kyron Hudson made some big catches that, including a touchdown pass early that tied the game at 7. That one was very, very bizarre because it was nearly intercepted. It went off the DB's hands, hit Hudson in the chest, and it kind of bounced off his chest plate there, and he reached out and grabbed it and pulled it back in for the touchdown, which was a nice play. And again, part of the weirdness in today's game. That Makai Lemon pass was very bizarre. That was in the 4th quarter, and again, really was meaningful at the time, seemingly, because the Trojans were struggling a little bit there, trying to find some momentum, needed that first down right there. And Maiava was hit and kind of got his arm moving forward. So the ball was projectiling towards the receiver, and then the defender hitting him made it go, whatever it was, 5-6 yards over the line, and Lemon was there and got a fingertip on it, and then it bounced off the defender's helmet, and Lemon pulled it in for a 9-yard reception, which was, it was remarkable. When you watched it in real time, you're kind of like, what just happened there? And then when you see it in slow motion, made a whole lot more sense. But ultimately, a clutch play and something that you would expect from Makai Lemon. He's a heck of a good receiver. I was surprised that he didn't get more touches today. They've been relying on him a lot over the last few weeks. And, I don't think that that's the reason the Trojans have been losing. I mean, he's had some really good games. What it has boiled down to for them is not being able to either score late in the game when they need to punch it away, or hold the opponent in the final minutes of the game. And they were able to do both today. Again, Jayden Maiava running in a touchdown at the end of the game, which made it 27-20 and then 28-20 with the extra point. It was a 6-yard run and seemingly unabated to the end zone. The offensive line, I thought, did a nice job opening up holes today. There were a few times when you felt like the Nebraska defensive line was going to, make it very, very rough today for Woody Marks. But in the end, Woody Marks came out on top. He had a long of 34, 19 carries for 146 yards. And as I said, running very explosively and aggressively and exploiting holes. And that's the kind of thing that when you see that happening, you feel good about where this Trojan team can go, because he really does key the offense for the Trojans. And you got to run the ball to throw the ball. And I feel like we're going to see a better performance next time out from Maiava, because he's just going to be more comfortable with the offense, more comfortable with the bevy of receivers that he has. And that's got to be challenging, when you've got so many options, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. I mean, you want to throw Lake McCree in there. He's had plenty of big games and is a quality, good hands receiver. Today, although not a great day catching the ball, really just kind of an off day for Lake McCree all in all, was running in motion behind the center, and third down snap hit him in the leg, and Maiava had to fall on it and keep it from becoming a turnover. And they indicated, I was like, is that on Maiava? I was thinking the same thing the announcers were thinking. Is that on Maiava for saying hike when McCree is right there? Or is it on McCree for being in the wrong place at the wrong time or not hustling past the center? They indicated that they felt it was on McCree for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I just look at it and I go, I don't see how it's not on Maiava. You've got a tight end running in motion right behind the center. Let him get a step pass before you call for the ball. I mean, that seems pretty obvious to me, but fortunately it did not turn into a problem for the Trojans. They were able to fall on it, get the ball back, and I believe they got a first down shortly thereafter. They ran they did. That was in the fourth. There was a sweet play after that bizarre Maiava completion to Makai Lemon, where he was hit and the ball bounced off of Lemon's fingers and off of the DB's head. They had it. They thought that potentially it was called a first down on the field, but they went back and reviewed, and it came out that it was not a first down, about a half yard short. So they went for it on 4th and a half yard. And really, this is where you see what Lincoln Riley is capable of as a play caller. It ran an option pitch to Woody Marks, which was good for a big, huge gainer right there and a first down, and got the Trojans down into the red zone. And shortly thereafter, the Maiava keeper for the touchdown to make it 28-20. And it was a 13-play drive, which took over half of the fourth quarter. I mean, that just sucks the life out of you if you're the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This game has kind of been back and forth, and it really did feel at times like it was no, you take it. No, I don't want it. You take it. No, you take it. No, I'm good. You take it. They were really trying their best to give it to the opposition. And if you're the Nebraska Cornhuskers, you have to feel like, hey, we're still in this. It's a 1-point ball game. And even when they're down 8, I think they probably feel like they're still in it because it's a 1-score game. Touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and you're good to go. Ceyair Wright on the field, anything's possible. That guy was a man possessed today. 4 tackles, 4 solo, but had a pick 6 and a blocked punt for the Trojans. Another defensive thing for the Trojans that was very, very nice to see was Ramsey back on the field. Kamari Ramsey missed the last couple of games, and that was a big part of the reason they did not play well against Washington. It was obvious when he is not out there. He's a guy that is generally all over the field. Made a bunch of nice tackles at key moments today. Huge tackle on 3rd down about midway through the 4th to force a punt for Nebraska, and then went down. And everyone was holding their breath. No, not again. It felt like a cramp to me. You could see his calf just knotted up. It was just as rigid and hard as, there was just that you could tell it was just knotted up. And the trainer that came out was the first thing he reached for was to massage out his calf. And then he was down for a minute or two. They helped him off the field, and he was back in the game sooner before later, which was nice to see. But Mascarenas Arnold, 8 total tackles, 4 solos, and Mason Cobb leading the way on defense with 9 tackles and 7 total tackles. So all in all, the Trojans played well on both sides of the ball, especially in the second half during crunch time when it mattered most for them. Jayden Maiava, 25 of 35, 259 yards, 3 touchdowns, and just 1 interception, averaging 7.4. Dylan Raiola, 27 of 38 for 191. He's a true freshman, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions for him. Trojans win it, improved to 5-5, 28-20 the final. When we come back, we'll get into a little bit more about Woody Marks' day, which to me was the highlight of this entire game. I enjoyed seeing Maiava get out there, changing things up. When things aren't going well, I am a big proponent of change, and that's what Maiava brought. He also brought them a win. Do we feel like Maiava is the answer to the Trojans' problems? I don't know, but we'll talk about that and Woody Marks after the break. It's the Locked On USC Trojans Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. Today's episode of the Locked On Trojans Postcast also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL right in the middle of the game, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you feel like your team is starting to turn things around and dig themselves out of a hole, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Trojans get back in the win column today, beating the Nebraska Cornhuskers 28-20 to improve to 5-5. Huskers are now 5-5 as well, so they sit a game away from being bowl eligible. They are currently in the middle of the longest bowl absence streak, not being in a bowl for 7 seasons now. So hopefully they can get one more and get in. And the same holds true for the Trojans, who again win it today 28-20. They play next Sunday at the Rose Bowl, one of the biggest rivals in all of sports, as they take on the UCLA Bruins. That's going to be a good game because the UCLA Bruins are also having their troubles this year. They come into that one 4-6, 3-5 in the conference, just like the Trojans. But as they say, I hate to use this cliche, but it is so true with this matchup, this rivalry, the records do not matter. You can throw the records out the window in the Trojans and Bruins matchup. And generally speaking, my experience with this game has always been the team that you think is going to win, that would be favored, if you will, doesn't win for whatever bizarre reason. So I'm looking forward to that. The time at this point is TBD. So we'll have to wait and see. The matchup predictor at this point has the Trojans winning at 73% to 26% for the UCLA Bruins. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be good as always. Very rarely is it, an ugly blowout when those two get together. And more than anything, just looks good. Those colors, the Bruins blue and yellow and the Trojans cardinal and gold, it always makes for an exciting game. I'm a big fan of rivals across sports. Today, Woody Marks, 19 carries for 146 yards. But the thing that was impressive to me is that it wasn't like he was banging out big gainers. He had a couple, but hard yards today, 19 carries. But it wasn't like he was 1, 2. It seemed like every time it was 4 to 5 yards. So you could count on him for a big chunk to put you in a better position when you're behind the 8 ball, when it's third or second down and 8, and you want to get it to a manageable 3rd down and 3 or something like that. He was taking care of it. Or if it's 3rd down and 3, you give the ball to Woody Marks. Or if it's even 4th down and 1, Woody Marks was there for you to bang out that first down, just running the ball hard and really performing as you would expect, as you would hope, as at times we've been frustrated that he hasn't been able to. I mean, that Washington loss, 4th and 1 on the goal line. And again, I think that was a bad play call. I don't want to, dig up old frustrations, but to me, that was just a bad play call. They went for it. They ran the same play twice right on the goal line, and it didn't work twice. It's like when you're as creative as Lincoln Riley is, come up with something better. Like today, the 4th down call to Woody Marks, the option from Maiava was a sweet looking play. And it had the Nebraska Cornhuskers off balance. 4th down today, both teams were 1 for 1. 3rd down, the Trojans were 6 of 13, while Nebraska was 5 of 13. 22 first downs for the Trojans and 19 for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Penalties that were pretty bad for the Trojans early on. They had 55 yards of penalties in the second quarter. By the end of the day, they had it down to 5 for 70. So 15 yards of penalties after the second half, or in the second half. So that was nice to see. Clean things up there. Must have gotten an earful in the locker room at halftime, because they came out and had a much better second half there in the penalty department. Just that one fumble from Maiava where he was trying to make something happen, got the ball knocked away, but it didn't turn into anything for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So that was nice to see. I think there's plenty to build on here when you look at this game, when you break it down and say, if Woody Marks can run like that, even close to that, the Trojans are in a much better position. Quentin Joyner had a decent game as well. Didn't have a ton of yards, but they were meaningful yards. 7 carries for 19 yards. And again, Maiava, 5 carries for 20 yards. So they ran the ball really well. I think once Jayden Maiava, I keep on calling Jordan, Jayden Maiava gets more comfortable with receivers, and which ones he is more familiar with and which ones he likes to throw the ball to. Apparently he likes to throw the ball to Duce Robinson, Zach Branch, and Woody Marks, because he threw the ball to those guys a lot today. 6 times to Woody Marks and Branch, 4 times to Robinson for 90 yards, 3 times to Kyron Hudson, who had a big catch and a touchdown. Kyle Ford, Mekhi Lemon, 2 times each. So once he starts to figure it out, become more comfortable with those guys, I think he is going to get better. And the Trojans will have an opportunity next week to get to a bowl game. Again, they're playing the UCLA Bruins at the Rose Bowl. The time is still up in the air. They will then finish the season on November 30th, Thanksgiving weekend, against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and that will be at the Coliseum. So 2 tough ones here to finish out the season. A rivalry game, and the Notre Dame game is a rivalry game as well. What do they call it? The biggest intersectional rivalry in all of college football or something like that. But they did a nice job today all around, running the ball, catching the ball, stopping the run when it mattered. And special teams, I guess, would be the one sore thumb that we didn't love. The punting game, fantastic. That guy continues to dazzle. He's an All-American, but the field goal, letting that field goal get blocked there was not ideal. But they did a nice job across the board, and I feel like we come away from this game feeling pretty good about things. Great win for the Trojans. Emmanuel says that. I don't know if it was a great win. Coming out on top is nice. A win is a win. But it did feel like there was a different sort of energy, a different sort of intensity. Woody Marks showed it running the ball, and Jayden Maiava has a nice arm. I mean, and that definitely better than Miller Moss. I don't know that he's a better quarterback than Miller Moss, but he's bigger, a little taller, throws the ball a little bit more upright, get it over the line. Maybe it's easier for the receivers to see. I don't exactly know. I do know that I felt like his targets were more on point. There were times the last couple of games for Miller Moss where he was just not good. 30 of 50 in one of those games. I remember spending a good portion of the postcast complaining about his inaccuracy. Jayden Maiava, I'll get it right by next week, I promise. Jayden Maiava definitely more accurate today for the Trojans in this 28-20 win. 25 of 35 for 259, 3 touchdowns, and just 1 interception as the Trojans win at 28-20 and improve to 5-5, 3-5 in conference play. Remember, they're in the Big Ten because I almost said Pac-12 play. That's going to do it for today. The Locked On Trojans postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your comments. I will check you guys out tomorrow evening for the Locked On Chargers postcast right here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel as they're playing on Sunday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. We will talk to you right after that game is over. Thanks a lot. Have a good Saturday. Take care.